want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
We are the Madmen of Masculinity.
Your home for healthy masculinity. We're just real men having real conversations for you.
What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up?
Madmen Mafia.
What's up? What's up? What's up? I am Kirk M. Samuels.
And I am Jason B. Kendrick.
And we are the Madmen of Masculinity.
That's right. We're just real men having real conversations for you. And we're talking about
For
success,
you.
baby.
What's happening, JBK? What you up to, man?
Man, I'm sore. I'm tired. I'm old. Snowboarding is hard, but you know what? I keep doing it because it's good for me.
Word. You be living on the mountains up there, man?
Man, yeah, I live in the mountains and play in the mountains and do all the stuff in the mountains now.
I hear you. I don't do none of that, man. I'm from the city. I'm from the hood.
Yeah, you want them lowlanders. You want them urban pools.
I am, man. I'm from the concrete jungle. You know what I'm saying? From concrete jungle, son.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But I made it out. You know what I'm saying? I heard a quote yesterday, man.
You been reading again?
And I said I heard a quote, man. You don't hear a quote when you're reading. Come on, man.
Listen to
you know I went to public school. You know this, man. I heard a quote. I was watching the Coach Prime series on Amazon because I'm all about Coach Prime and everything he's doing up there at CU, making young men into men in every kind of way. So I'm definitely on team Coach Prime. So I was watching the Coach Prime series, and he said something on there, man, that kind of rattled my cage a little bit when I heard it. He said, "Success is not a success if you don't have a successor," or something to that effect. Or like you can't have success without a successor. And man, that got me thinking, man, of like, what is success? Especially for us as men. Like, what is success? You know, I mean, hey, that can have a whole lot of definitions, man. But yeah, I just want to get your thoughts on that whole thing, man.
Well, it's like, I mean, we've talked about it before, is that I think, especially here in the West, most men, and because it's how we're taught, that success is all about your bank account, it's all about your wallet, it's all about your financial achievements, it's all about business, et cetera, et cetera. But I like Einstein's quote, or whoever's quote it was, because I've seen it attributed to a lot of different people, but, you know, it try not to be a man of success, but try to be a man of value. And I think to, you know, Coach Prime, Dion's quote there, I think that's what he's alluding to, because I think the value comes back to your legacy, what you leave behind. You know, yeah, you can leave your money behind, but how many rich people leave their money behind to their kids, and their kids go nuts and spend it all, and then they're in jail or dead or something? But when you are a success by bringing somebody else up, like you don't just do things for yourself, but as soon as you get to the mountaintop, you reach back and help somebody else up. That's part of your legacy, and that's being of value and thinking about, you know, the next generation, thinking about making the world a better place, you know, planting trees that you'll never sit in the shade of. Those kind of things are mindsets of value. Those are actions of value. I think we get it so skewed nowadays. It's all about money and, you know, what you got in the garage and all these different things, but it's not really about true value in the sense of what am I leaving behind, what is my legacy, and how am I impacting the world for the better.
Us as men, man, we need to get this right, like early in life. we need to ground this in solid ground in terms of our identity. You know, us as Western men, us as men, period, us as men trying to figure out what manhood is. You know, us as men just in our lives, man, you know, we need to figure this out early. We need to figure this out quick, because otherwise it will guide you and drive you down some wrong paths if you don't have it. Now, speaking of, you know, Coach Prime, I mean, the guy's been successful at every level. I mean, college football Hall of Fame, NFL Hall of Fame. I mean, you name it, man. I mean, you know, broadcasting, you know, I mean, he's been, he's been a success basically, at least professionally anyway. Everywhere he's been, and that is undeniable. I mean, the facts speak the facts, and just as he's coming here to Colorado and the Boulder area, his success is translated into school success, translated into an economic boom and economic income. It is translated into, from what I can see anyway, from my perspective outside looking in, but from the windows of glass that they allow us to see inside, it looks like he's producing good young men. I mean, his college program, man, with all the lights and all the shine and all the money and all this other kind of stuff that's involved, that's come their way, man. You don't hear nothing about no none of the players getting arrested or doing nothing crazy, beating up somebody and getting in trouble in the dorm in the frat house or whatever you want to call it. And so we ought to pay attention to this definition of success, because a lot of times if we get caught up in the wrong definitions of life, man, we'll just be driving to one goal, to one end, and we'll only see our value on our last day of life as to whatever that thing is that we're driving for, whether it's money, whether it's do you have a six pack, a six pack in the freezer or a six pack on your belly. I mean, you'll have all of that kind of all over the place, man, upside down. So we need to make sure that this definition for us as men is set, man, because otherwise it'll have you in some really dark places if you don't have that right.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think we as men, especially nowadays, need to define our own definition of success and go for that and make sure it's something that fills our heart and fills our soul. And then it's something that we can leave behind and bring somebody else with us. Because what we see so much is men kind of being indoctrinated into, well, this is what success looks like. It's a big house, it's big cars, this and that. And then you see a lot of those guys miserable later on down the road because there's no finish line, there's no real substitute for greed or just attainment. It's always like, the moving finish line. It's always the moving goalpost. It's like, oh, you made $1 million this year. Well, so and so next door, he made five. So now you got to compete with him and make five. And it's like, where is the delineation between this is enough and this is all I need, and this is what makes me happy? Because what I've seen, and especially traveling around and meeting a lot of shamans and medicine men and guys who are more on that spiritual path, they don't have a lot materially, but they are some of the most happiest, down to earth, grounded people, and they just love getting up every day to share their passions with other men and people and families in the world. But we in the West tend to just only attribute success with money and material possessions. But like you say quite a lot, can't take it with you. Everything you own is going to be somebody else's at some point. So are we focusing on the wrong thing when it comes to the definition of success?
Whenever for sure you're focusing on the wrong thing when that definition of success involves a comparison with other people, with somebody else, right? And so just starting right off the bat in terms of where you're wrong in terms of the definition of success, you're wrong if somehow there's a scoreboard that involves a winner and a loser, meaning you and somebody else. Whatever that definition of success is something shallow, is something temporary, is something manufactured, is something, pushed on you by society or another person or whatever you want to call it. But first and foremost, man, and maybe as we get into this conversation after the next few breaks or whatever, I mean, maybe we get into what it is, what kind of things involve success. But I think for sure, right up front, if your definition of success means somebody has to win and somebody has to lose, or a comparison with somebody else, then you wrong. You dead wrong. You dead wrong.
Yeah, I think that's where we get off track because we've been kind of conditioned into this lack mentality, like there's a not enough. But the universe is abundant. Everything is that we need is here. But when we buy into this lack mentality, then it's about hoarding. It's about getting more, and it's not about doing what most of nature does, which is sharing. You don't see animals just, maybe, squirrels will put their nuts away for winter, but they're just, saving those for, when it gets cold and there aren't any more nuts. But most animals eat what they need. They leave the rest for the other animals. Like they don't hoard. They don't try to accumulate so many things. But we, as Western men, a lot of times are just like, hey, I need more. I got to have more. And then it's this bottomless pit within us that we're trying to fill with material possessions that doesn't equate to happiness, doesn't equate to a legacy or longevity. It just equates to more stuff. And, it comes to a point where, things you own you. Now you're stuck with houses and cars and things that you have to maintain and you got to pay tax on. You got to do all these things that maybe doesn't actually lead to your own happiness. Maybe it's just another weight on your shoulders. It's another responsibility, another to-do thing that you could actually give up and probably be a lot lighter and happier if you took time to investigate what's in your life, investigate the things that you actually need and what you don't need. I know when I moved, I had to get rid of a lot of things. And even now I'm looking around like, I don't need all this stuff. Maybe I can get rid of some of this stuff. Maybe I can consolidate even more. It's not about the things. And I think we get so caught up in the things that we lose track of what truly makes us happy, what makes us successful in the world.
You mentioned the squirrels. They take what they need, but then you do have squirrels that part of being a squirrel is kind of hoarding up a little bit. Hoarding it up and hoarding it up and in the stuff. And I'd like to say that in some ways, us as Western men can be like squirrels because sometimes we compare ourselves to how much nuts we have stored up.
Right.
And on that note, no, I'm kidding. But
it's so funny about
we
that.
do get
Even
off
with that
track in that way.
analogy, yeah, but we get on that. Even with that analogy, like the squirrels, they try to, they're stocking up for winter. They're saving, like if we're saving money, putting in our savings plan like that. What's funny is most of those squirrels, they lose like half of their nuts. They don't even know where they left them. So if you're hoarding
Again,
like a
look,
squirrel, make sure you know where your stuff is.
men like squirrels. You shouldn't measure yourself by
Just
how
trying to
many
get a
nuts
nut.
you
Oh
got
wait,
stored up.
sorry,
Yeah,
that just came out. Did I say that out
it
loud?
just came out, man. Yeah, it did.
It's
Let's take it.
little,
Let's take an early break, man, because we're a little bit off
early
track
break,
right
little verbal threads.
now.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right, we're
yeah,
gonna
we
take a
are.
little early break here. We are the Bad Men of Masculinity. This is KLDC, and we'll be right back.
I was gonna say, yeah, we need to keep our nuts in hand, but I'm trying to keep it clean for Tanner. His edit. Didn't want to have to make him edit that out.
Yeah, I think we
We
can
need to
go
keep
ahead
our
and
nuts straight.
yeah. I don't know about I don't know. Yeah, we might have to ask him about that. We might have to put it in, just ask him, hey, what do you think about this?
Yeah, for
Is
sure.
not hand too risque, or is trying to get a nut?
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know.
I don't know, man.
We'll
Man, I'm
find
just a
out when they
squirrel.
find
I'm
him.
just a squirrel in this world trying to get a nut, man.
That's right.
Squirrel in this world trying to get a nut. That's all I'm trying to
All
do,
right.
man. Here
Let's
we
roll
go.
it up. And we're
We're
back.
back. Yeah, that's right. We're back. You know what it is. You know what it is. You know who it
You know
is,
what
man.
time
Man of
it is.
masculinity.
Mhm.
KLDC 1220 AM in the Mile High City on the interwebs everywhere.
Everywhere. Yeah, we got it.
badmenradio.com. Check us out Facebook, YouTube. It don't cost you a single solitary dime or a penny to hit a daggone like button, or to hit a daggone subscribe button. We got thousands of subscribers at this point, man. It's great seeing the numbers grow. If you're not, hit the subscribe, but you can always unsubscribe later. Don't cost you nothing. I mean, if all of a sudden, we show up too much in your timeline, just hit unsubscribe later. But it don't cost you nothing to hit subscribe or hit subscribe, and it helps us move the needle a little bit and
Yeah. Yeah.
try to
Tell us how
advance
much you love
masculinity.
us. Tell us how
Tell us how
much you
much you
hate
hate
us.
us.
Yeah, I mean, just like and subscribe. It's frustrating because we're not doing too many reaction videos. We're not doing superhuman tricks, and so we don't have a
Right,
million subscribers. But we're out here trying to
right,
spread some healthy masculinity, trying to get
right.
some truth out there, trying to help people.
Yeah,
And it's a snail train. It's a slow bus. We're on the short bus.
yeah.
It's uphill battle. We think we can, but we need
Yeah.
your help to get up there.
I was watching. Speaking of watching, there's a series that I think is Netflix about the Jerry Springer show, and it's like,
I was just
when
about that.
Jerry
Yeah.
Springer first came out, he was just doing talk show kind of stuff or whatever. Then they decided, let's go trash,
Mhm.
and they decided let's go trash. Let's go for the ratings. Let's aim for the lowest comedy denominator in culture. And to their credit, they achieved their goal, their level of success, or
Mhm.
their measure of success, which was ratings. And in order to do that, they decided to just go that route. We decided our measure of success is not going that route, just being stupid, just being hateful. We're not trying to spread hate. We're not talking about, all the things that are terrible with this world and with people and, how men are ridiculous, how women are terrible. And we don't sit around doing all that kind of stuff. We're trying to advance the positivity of healthy masculinity. We're trying to douse water on the flames of toxic masculinity. The raging. Speaking of raging wildfires, man, shout out to all the folks that are going through it out on the West Coast as we record this.
Mhm.
But anyhow, yeah, that's our that was their measure of success. This is ours. I think one measure of success that we should aspire for is involving our purpose.
Mhm.
When what I've learned or discovered in life is when you incorporate purpose into your life, then at the end of the day, when you lay your head down, whether you're a winner or a loser, or about how much that day. Did I live out my purpose or did I not today? Whatever your purpose is, you define your purpose, or you find your purpose. But when you find your purpose, you're able to live it out, even if it's a little bit on a daily basis. Man, what if your purpose is just to make somebody smile? Well, then at the end of the day, when you lay your head down, it's real easy. Did I make anybody smile today? I mean, so whatever that is, man, I think purpose is a huge thing to measure your success by.
Yeah, I think one of the things that, especially when you use the monetary measurement of success or the yardstick that most men in the Western culture do, yeah, you want to have money, you need some money, but it's not the end all be all. And a lot of times when that becomes your only yardstick and your only focus, then you lose a lot of the, heart opening, the heart filling, a lot of things where it becomes of service. And I think a lot of guys too, as well, we get caught up in the, competing with the Joneses thing. You see it on the
Yeah.
internet. You see all the guys, "Oh, I'm a millionaire. Look at my mansions." Which most of those commercials and those infomercials, those guys are renting that stuff out. They're just using that for show. It's just a backdrop. That's not really their life. And when that becomes your sole focus, it becomes very shallow. It's not, you're not being really of service in a positive way. And like to Kirk's point, if you're struggling with what's my purpose or what can I do today to make the world a better place, I mean, just being a kind person, open the door for people, trying to make somebody smile. A lot of times we put, we want to have that maybe top of the mountain goal. You want to have that thing that would scare you if you got it. And that's a great thing to shoot for. But on a day to day basis, sometimes the best thing you can do is just be a kind human being, help somebody carry their groceries, open the door, make somebody smile. It doesn't have to be world changing all the time, because to change the world means to change your world, means to act locally, think globally. So if you're not one of those ones that wants to be on stage like Tony Robbins in front of thousands of people every month, or whoever else you can think of, maybe your purpose and your way of making the world a better place and being a success for that day is just being kind to somebody and helping somebody out and being of service. Because a lot of times what I see, and I think what is kind of coming to the forefront now, we're starting to see the forest through the trees, is that this whole focus on material success and monetary success leaves out a lot of the service aspect, because it comes into that whole business thing and it's competitive and you're competing and comparing and trying to be better than the next guy, trying to be better than your last month's totals, trying to be better than you were before, when it doesn't really translate to longevity, doesn't translate to a legacy, doesn't translate to actually helping other people. Because a lot of guys that get on that money train, man, they're very selfish. You see how it is. It's not about helping the environment. It's not about helping the future kids. It's not about helping other people. It's just about what can I get and how much can I hoard.
Right, which is when you live in and through and on purpose. It's not a scoreboard thing. It's not really. It's not a measurable thing per se. Is let's say your purpose is to make somebody smile, to make people smile. You can't measure that impact, because if you made somebody else smile, they probably made somebody else smile. it's kind of like that thing when you go through the drive-through and you pay for the drink behind you, and you just pull off. Well, you don't even know if that person behind you, if they said, "Oh, wow, that was good. I'm gonna do the same thing," and so on and so forth. And you've heard the stories of that going on for like hours of people just paying for the drinks behind them, the kind of thing. And so you don't even know what impact you made, and it's immeasurable. And maybe you'll never know. Maybe you'll never know on this side of life what impact you made. But even if your purpose is just something what can seem small, is to make somebody smile, make somebody's life better. You have no idea what people are going through. I just found out somebody that we met on vacation a few months ago passed away a couple weeks ago. It's like, wait a minute, we were just sitting having a conversation about life and whatever, and it's like, man, that dude is gone. I mean, and left behind, a spouse and all that other kind of stuff. And so, you don't know what people are going through. And so even if your purpose is something what can seem small like that, man, that can have a huge, huge impact. If you reach out and mentor a young kid, you mentor a young male. I mean, that could stop somebody from going to school and shooting up the joint. I mean, you never know, man. And so when you live on purpose, when you live through that lens for success, then man, first of all, you're doomed for, or you're destined for success rather, because it's pretty hard to fail when you find your purpose and when you begin to live that little thing out and try to find something to do along the lines of purpose. It's actually hard to fail in that kind of way.
That's why I think in a lot of ways we need to almost shift from even the definition of success to value. Like, how are you a value today? Because, like, to Kirk's point, you never know. I mean, how many stories do we hear about that guy who's like walking towards the bridge? He's about ready to end it. And he's like, if just one person smiles at me, if just one person acknowledges me today, then I won't. It's like a sign from God. Like, that one person will just, acknowledge me and let me know I'm not alone, then I won't do it. That's being of value, acknowledging people, smiling at people. I mean, you don't even have to say a word. You can just smile at people walking down the street, and you don't know what kind of impact that has. I mean, we are all impressionable people. We tend to resonate with what's going on around us. We resonate with the people around us. We resonate with stuff. So when there's negativity around you, be that one that decides not to buy into it or resonate with it, but to go above it and be of value and say, hey, let's be positive today. What are 3 positive things that happened to you today? Or, let's just, you could even be just that radiator of positivity without even saying anything. Just like, I'm not going to buy into that. I'm not going to be negative because they're being negative. We all go to work and we all get into those, negative Nancy circles. Everyone wants to get around the water cooler and gossip and chit chat and talk about who did what and who did this to that and all that stuff. But you can just choose not to participate. You can be that ray of sunshine, a ray of light, be of value to those people, even when they don't know it, because it's not about always just having to get the next goal or to make the next milestone or to get the next dollar. Sometimes it's just about being there. And like, when you mentor kids, a lot of times it's not about what you say or what you do. It's just about your presence, especially for men in families and in relationships. It's about your presence. So a lot of times when we get so caught up in the scoreboard and the next goal and the next thing, we forget to be present. And how many have we seen that? How many of us have seen the guy who's wealthy and successful, quote unquote, in the business world, but he has no relationship with his kids? His kids hate him because he's never home and he's always working, and he gets stuck on that mouse wheel or hamster wheel of success, monetary success. Sometimes it's just about being present and being of value to those around you.
Yeah. And again, this is why purpose is probably one of the most foolproof, fail-safe methods to live a life where you can call yourself a success. That whole William Wallace thing. Many years from now, when you're laying on your deathbed and you look back, what will you say? Like, what will you say about your life? Did it have any kind of purpose? Did you stand for anything? Did it have any kind of meaning? Or did you just wake up, go to work, pay bills, watch something on the screen, and then go to bed, and then die one day? I mean, what was the purpose? Why did you beat 40 million sperm if that was the life that you were destined to live? You're a success just by being here because you did beat 40 million sperm to that one egg, that one day or night or whenever your mama and daddy did whatever they did. I mean, so you're a success in getting here, but what a waste it is if you don't live your life with a purpose. You don't live your life with something meaningful that when you're gone, the world is different because you are here. That somebody can have something to say at your funeral besides pass the mashed potatoes. That's the kind of stuff that means something. And if you don't live with purpose as man, this is the stuff that's not real sexy, right? This is the stuff that, yeah, we can sit back, we can go to Jerry Springer route, we can harp and just whine and moan about life and politics or this candidate or that candidate or this person or that person or whatever. Or in this case, in this context, men versus women. We could do all that. We if we wanted to, we could whine and complain with the best of them, right? We can
Mhm.
be all the red pill like everybody else, man. Sometimes we stop each other from being too red pill, but
Mhm.
we can go down that route. And so, but at the same, what good does it do? Like, how does that move the ball forward in life? Maybe just maybe. I mean, I would rather be not known, not famous, not have anything blow up, but be a person of integrity and live out my purpose and trying to make the world a better place.
Yep. And speaking of purpose, it's a purpose for us to take a break right now. So we will be right back. We are the Madmen of Masculinity. This is KLDC in the Mile High City.
Word.
And to all you who are just working the 9 to 5 and coming home and watching TV and doing those things that Kirk was bashing on, hey, as long as you're taking care of your kids, you're there for them, your purpose is your family, ain't nothing wrong with that. Purpose is
Again,
yours. You get to decide.
and and that being said, well, no, I'll pick up on that coming back.
Yeah.
That's actually a good point.
Okay. And we're back. Madman
Yeah.
of Masculinity, KLDC,
Mhm.
interwebs everywhere. It's your boys.
Yeah, something you just brought up, man, here during the break, and I think it's worth circling back to. And when I talked about living a life of just going to work, paying bills, watching something on the screen, and going to bed, um, that's not a bash on the hardworking guy that does what he does and comes home and does what he does. I'm talking about the guy that could care less about his home, could care less about other people. I'm talking about the guy that goes to work, comes home to a house with wife and kids, and doesn't pay any attention to them, doesn't interact with them, doesn't do anything. Because quite honestly, you talk about success being success if you have a successor. Man, when you invest in your kids, I mean, there's not much more success than that. When you invest in your wife, man, that is some fantastic success, man. They need us to invest in them, man. They need our presence around there. And so if that's your purpose, if your purpose is to make a stable, healthy household and have that be a pillar of the community, a cornerstone of a community, man, I think that's fantastic. I think that's great. I think that's a great purpose to live by. If more people, if more men, cared about that kind of stuff, then the world will be a better place. This world, our society is only going to be as safe and as healthy and as productive as men will allow it to be. And when we get engaged for all the right things, then our communities are safer, our families are safer, our kids are safer, all of those kinds of things. But yeah, when you're the type of knucklehead that could care less about the world and all you do is consume, all you do is literally consume, then as far as I'm concerned, man, you need to wake up. Like you need to, there's something wrong. There's something wrong. There's too big of a world out there that needs men for us to be passive, to sit on the couch, and to not be known or seen in the community doing something.
Yeah, I mean, we do this because we want to be of value. We do this because we want to have an impact. We do this because we want to actually impact somebody and hopefully make their life a little better, make them think a little more positively. And so for the men out there, there's so much you can do. And it doesn't have to be so big. Like stop comparing yourself to all the movie stars and athletes and all the millionaires and billionaires. You can act locally and be a man of value and be successful every day by being somebody who impacts others positively. I mean, you can go read to kids. You can go, take care of dogs. You can just be one of those guys that, just picks up trash and doesn't say anything to anybody. You can make an impact, make your world a better place just by being a good man of value and thinking long term. I think so many of us have gotten so ADD and thinking only, just instant gratification. And of course, that's how the media is set up. It's how social media is set up. It's all the dopamine hits. It's like, I just want my instant gratification. So I don't think globally. I don't think long term. I don't think about my kids, my legacy, the progeny and whatnot. So when we start to think long term, we start to think big picture, and we start making those little incremental things. Because I think so many of us get so caught up in it's so big. Like, how can I be a success? There's so much I have to do, or how can I be a man of value in my little corner of the world or in my little neighborhood? And we make it sound too big, too unattainable. But everything, it starts with those little steps, and you can start in your life today making little steps, becoming a man of value. And if you focus on the value, you focus on your legacy, you focus on the things that you can do for other people, and being a man of service, you will feel like a success. Can't even say it.
Yeah.
You will feel like a success. You will feel like a man of value because you are impacting others positively in your little world, in your little area. It doesn't have to be globally. You can just do it in your neighborhood.
Yeah. I grew up watching James Evans Sr. I know you ain't watch it, but I know
Good-
you don't even know what I'm
Good
talking about, man.
times, baby.
What you know about some good times, man? I used to
Man,
grow up watching James Evans Sr. come home
Good
from work,
time.
put his little blue hat on, a little coat hat, and come in the house and I have no idea. I don't even remember off the top of my head what he did for a living, but I know he had a family of 5 living in a 2-bedroom apartment, in Caprini Green in Chicago in the projects, right? So I know he wasn't doing nothing, producing a whole lot of money, but at the same time, he came home. He raised his kids, and I remember the one episode where, or many actually, several episodes where other kids would come around, and he was a man in the home. I mean, he was loving on his wife. He was raising his kids, his 2 boys and his daughter. His daughter was fine. Everybody like, man, I'm telling you, man, whatever, man. But he was there. He was there in the household, and and he was a pillar in his community, even though his community was the projects. But he was a pillar in his community because he came home and he raised his kids, man. And if you ever watch Good Times, you remember that episode when he died, man. And you remember, you remember old Florida looking over, and it all went quiet at the end, and she was damn when he when he died. That was a heartbreaking moment for America, man. I know I was shook when that happened, man, just because he was a pillar and he was gone. And so, man, that's a great place to start, is in your home. That's a great place to start, is in your family. It's a great place to make a huge impact on your community, is right inside the walls of your house.
Yeah, I mean, you brought up Dion and Coach Prime, and I mean, he is one of those perfect examples of success because he could have just been, I'm Dion, I'm the 2-sport, MVP, I'm the multimillionaire, I'm this guy. But he's, instead of just being that guy, instead of just being the superstar and all that, he turned around when his career was over and he made sure he focused on his kids. And not just his kids, but then the kids surrounding him. And then he started coaching, pee-wee football, and he started coaching, high school and then college and whatnot. And so he was always focused on his legacy. He was always focused on, like you were saying, his successor. And so he could have been that bad example for his kids where they never thought they could reach those heights. They never thought they could make it as big as he did. But he just made sure he took what he knew and passed it down. And now you look at all his kids, Shador, Bucky, and was it Shiloh?
Shiloh. Yep.
All of them are
bossy,
huge successes. Yeah. They're just doing their thing. And, he decided that he was going to be a success by being the one who brought up his kids. And then you see how many of the other kids who have been coached by him went from, just followed him from this school to that school, this school to that school. And they all say that he's always making time for them. He always has words of wisdom and advice. And that would be somebody to emulate. That would be somebody who, if you want to be a success in life, you want to be a man of value, look at your legacy, look at your successors, look at who you can impact, because we're all only here for so long. Like Kirk and I do our thing, and hopefully maybe this will live in perpetuity and YouTube will keep going on and people will find this later on and go, oh, that was some good stuff. but it's just about what you can contribute. And are you contributing? Don't be the couch potato just eating Doritos and Mountain Dew and, not contributing anything in the world. Go out there and do something, even if it's small, just something that you can feel like a man of value and a man of success.
And you said it a couple times, and I think you know another great measure of success is your legacy. That legacy that you leave behind. I say this all the time, and when you're gone, everything you have will be somebody else's. Your wife is going to be somebody else's. Your kids are going to be somebody else's. Your car, your clothes, the Jordans you got going to be somebody else's. All your debt is going to be somebody else's. All that, everything's going to be somebody else's except your legacy. Yeah, your retina and your fingerprint and your legacy. Your legacy is like the wake of your ship, through the ocean of life. And when you're gone, that's the only thing that's going to be left behind. And so, what kind of legacy are you leaving? What kind of legacy are you leaving behind? And you brought up Coach Prime, and if you know anything about his story, he didn't have a great, healthy relationship with his father growing up. And I look at, man, one of the things I admire the most about him is his relationship with his kids, with all of his kids. His daughters, his 2 daughters, and his 3 sons. And I'm like, I admire that, man, and I kind of wish I had that. I aspire to that, and I try my best, but man, I love that. And then to your point, he's a father figure to so many other kids. He's a father figure to Travis Hunter, who just won the Heisman. He's a father figure to Jimmy Horn Jr., whose father is in prison. And so many other kids on that team. He got a savings accounts for them, the ones that have kids and for their kids of the future and all that kind of stuff, man. So say what you want, but he's definitely leaving behind a legacy, man. And if we as men can leave behind a legacy behind us.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing that I think get so caught up when it comes to the whole idea of material success and whatnot is that we forget to include the others. It becomes so self-gratifying and so greedy and so what about me? And so us as men, if we really want to be successful men, we really want to be men of value, then we need to be men of service. And that means serving our family, serving our community, serving our country, but finding ways that we can be men of service. And I guarantee you, most men who have checked out, and I've had these experiences where I'm like, oh, woe is me. I'm a victim. The world hates me. I'm just a man. Nobody loves me. Nobody listens. And then you check out, that depression and that all those negative emotions build because you're not being a man of service. The quickest way to get out of depression, the quickest way to feel like you're important and that you're doing something in the world that has value is to be of service in some way. You go out and help somebody that's less fortunate than you, or even somebody who's just as equally fortunate or more fortunate. You go out and just help somebody, you will feel like a success and a man of value. But because we have checked out in so many ways as men nowadays, a lot of us are just on that downward spiral. We're on the train heading off the tracks because we haven't stopped to go, well, what is my value? What is my definition of success? And what do I want to leave to the country, to the world, and to the kids behind me?
When you serve others, man, you make your life greater, more impactful. The beat of your heart is louder when you're in service of other people. And the good thing is, in a way, our society makes it really easy to help and serve other people because there's so many people in need. You don't have to look far at all to find people that are in need, man. There's organizations out there that are all about mentoring young men, and they need men. They have way more mentees than mentors. And I mean, man, we got Google. All you gotta do is Google it. Look it up. I mean, organization mentoring. I mean, every city in America has a homeless population. It's so easy to find some people who don't have a place to live or are hungry or whatever, and you can help feed them. You can volunteer. You don't even have to start up an organization. You can just show up and say, "Hey, can I help? Can I volunteer at this organization?" And they all will say, "Yeah," because they all need people. So our culture, our society anyway, makes it easy for us to live a life of service by just finding a place, any place, to go out and do something, anything, move the needle, move the ball.
And speaking of being men of service, we are going to take our last little service break. We will be right back. We are the Madmen of Masculinity, and this is KLDC. So
Man,
yeah,
it feels like we're early. Are we? We're not early. Are we early?
No, it was 13. I got the timer.
Looks like we're only 40 minutes in.
Yeah.
I guess that's about right.
Yeah.
I guess it's about right.
53, 53, 54 when we get done.
Yeah. I guess it's about right. That's me doing my public school math.
Yeah. What was it I was thinking of that I wanted to bring up?
I can't help you there.
Done forgot it. It done going out that way. All right, let's finish it. 4 quarter, y'all. Oh, let me take a drink.
Yeah, me too.
All right, ready to go?
Word up.
4 quarter, let's do it. And we're back.
We are back. Yeah.
Let's do it.
We are on KLDC 1220 AM in the Mile High City. We're on the interwebs everywhere. We record our show once weekly, and then while we're recording, we live stream it, or either while we live stream, we're recording our show, whichever way you want to say it. You can holler at us, check us out. Madmen of Masculinity page on Facebook. You can go to YouTube, same thing, that Madmen of Masculinity channel, and you can check. Man, we got a lot. We got years of this thing, man. I mean, we got a lot of daggone ones up there.
I think we got like 800 something uploads now, and like 500 full-length episodes, something like that. So we got something for y'all to watch. But yeah, no, we were talking about being of service before the break, and I remember what I wanted to say. It came back to me. What tends to be human nature is that we tend to ignore each other, and we tend to not be of service, and we tend to not help each other until there's a crisis. And now you look at what's going on the East Coast, you look at what's going on the West Coast, you look at all these crises going on, whether they're man-made or environmental or global warming or whatever, platform you want to step on, whatever reason you think it is. Now there's crises. Now people are actually coming together. And what we would like to see, what we would like to implement and promote is us being of service prior to the crisis, us being of service and neighborly and supporting each other prior to there being some sort of catastrophe and some sort of big need. If we could start doing these things in our little ways every day, that's how we change the world and make it a better place.
Man, I mean, that's almost revolutionary, man. Like being visible, being seen before there's some big something where we gotta rise up or whatever. It's like you ain't gotta rise up if you're already up. You ain't gotta get ready if you're ready. If you stay ready, kind of thing. And as men, when we are out there in the forefront, when we are visible, then there is no narrative that we need to talk down in terms of the bad part of us. I had the opportunity, I had the honor several years ago when my youngest two were in elementary school. Their school had this thing called Watchdog Dads. And with Watchdog Dads, it's like basically a dad. You show up and you volunteer for the day at the school. You put on a little vest where you the Watchdog Dad, and they give you a little walkie-talkie. And you literally just walk around the school, run errands for teachers or the office, or you go out on the playground at recess or the lunchroom. You just hang out with kids, and you're just there. If you ain't doing nothing, they might have you kind of walk the inside of the building or whatever and make sure doors are closed and all that kind of stuff. But you're just there. You're just present, and it's just having a dad be present. And it was amazing, man. You were like a rock star when you were a Watchdog Dad, and it was so awesome. They had such a good response that if you didn't sign up on the first day of school they had the sign up open the entire school year. If you didn't get a date on the calendar that first day of school, you couldn't get one, because there were so many dads that wanted to sign up and so many dads that wanted to do it multiple times. And so again, that was just one of those dads being visible, dads being present, and just having a dad around the hallways made a difference in the school. It wasn't a security thing. They had school resource officers and that kind of stuff, but it wasn't a security thing. It was just having a dad around. It just made a difference. And so the more we can be visible, just being there, man, the more the more the world is a better place.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up such a great point that if you don't know where to be of service, if you don't know how to generate value in your community, I mean, just being present somewhere, I mean, just even being somebody who walks the ladies, to their car, or just being somebody who's out there watching and like almost neighborhood watch style, just being somebody who's out there not for your own self-aggrandizement, not out there just to look like how big and bad I am or look at what I'm doing, but to be out there to be present and to be because I mean, how often do things happen just because nobody's around? How often do things happen when there's not a man around to say, "Hey, don't do that"? I mean, you see guys taking advantage, criminals, whatnot, taking advantage because there's nobody there protecting anybody or nobody there present. They're always looking for the victim in the dark alley. They're always looking for there not to be anybody around because we're the protectors, man. We're the ones that keep society safe, unless we're the broken ones that are causing the issues. But if you're the broken one causing the issues, you don't want another dude around. So if you don't know where
Mhm.
to serve, you don't know how to add value, just be present. Go someplace, stand under a street light, just be present, just watch and make sure people aren't acting a fool.
That's being a sheepdog. That's being the that's being the one that is the present protector, the protector that is present. And for us to just be there and being present, and for that matter, man, if you got kids, be present in your kids' lives. Just show up. I mean, at stuff when they have stuff, events, graduations, sporting, whatever. When stuff happens, significant moments in their life, just show up, man. Just be there. Even if you don't have a great relationship with your kids, just be there because one day you're going to be gone. And one of the greatest gifts I think you can leave to your kids is memories of when you were there at key moments in their life when you had the opportunity. We can't control a lot of things. We can't control the narrative that they hear from a disgruntled baby mama. We can't hear the narrative that they hear from society about men. We can't control all those kinds of things. But what we can control is stuff like just being present, man. Just showing up and yeah, when you're out, keep your eyes out, be aware and all those kind of things, but it's being the sheepdog that's there to help protect the flock from anything that may come up. But just being present, man, and just being there, being seen to your not only just your kids, family, friends. Like, just like man, when it was dark and I looked up and in a dark time of my life, man, I look back at the people that were in my life and helped got me through. Man, I'm loyal to those people. I mean, I'm deeply loyal to those people. So just being present is huge.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the big father wounds that a lot of men have nowadays from their childhood, especially like us in our generation of like the latchkey kids and both parents working and not having time to be at the events and stuff like that. Is like just not feeling seen and not seeing that presence of your father, not having them around. And so some of that does something to a guy. And so if that was your experience, then it's up to us to change that, become present, be the one that's present, be the sheepdog, be the one that watches out for others, having some situational awareness. Because if it's not, if if you think somebody needs to do it, that somebody's probably you. If you're like, hey, somebody needs to fix this, hey, you're somebody. Maybe you should fix it. Maybe
Yeah.
because maybe that's your calling and that's your purpose. You just because you had that idea, you had that thought that, hey, and that's God talking to you. So you were saying, hey, here's something for you to do. Here's some value you can add. Here's some way you could be a success. Add that to the community. Be present. Be proactive. Be protective, and just be a man of value.
Yeah. You hear that phrase, where are all the good men? And I mean, obviously, most of the time when it's said, it's kind of in a sarcastic or in a negative kind of way. But
Mhm,
first of all, I believe there are good men all around us.
mhm.
And, it's like, when you go somewhere where, let's say, the president is, you don't see all of the Secret Service. Like, they're not obvious. I mean, when you go places, man, there are law enforcement members and federal agents that live amongst us that are all around us. I mean, there are good people everywhere, but the whole idea of good men showing up, when we acknowledge and when we recognize the fact that there are good men around, and when we do continue to show up, when we show up at events and we're cheering on our kids. I remember when I was in high school, man, and some of the kids in my high school at some of our sporting events. I remember the dads that were there. The dads that showed up. Like I remember, I mean, I remember Mr. Jackson. I remember Mr. Turntine. I remember Mr. Pleasant. I mean, these are guys that nobody nobody knows. I mean, now, but if they were happen to be watching this, they would know. Um, the dad that was cheering on his daughter at the tennis meet. I mean, whatever it is, man, and they're good men, and when we continue to show up, when we continue to do what we do, that's success. That's success for individuals, but that's success for us as men. And again, when the tide comes in, all boats rise.
Yeah, remember, men, your wallet and your bank account is not your true legacy of success. Your true legacy of success is what you leave to your successors, what you leave to your kids, what you leave to society that's there long after you're gone. So if you think that it's just your bank account and your assets and your wealth and stuff, I'm sure your kids will, love to take your money once you're gone. But they didn't build it. They don't have the discipline that you had to build it. So they're probably just going to run through it. And it's if you look at how a lot of kids who got those trust funds and had the rich families, they don't always turn out so well. So it's more
Yeah,
about your presence. It's more about the value you bring. It's more about having that mindset of longevity and legacy and how can I make the world a better place for my kids and those that come after me than it is about your pocketbook and your bank account and your assets.
yeah. When you think about like very successful people, I think about Michael Jordan. His father wasn't rich and famous, other than we would know him as his father. I mean, Shaquille O'Neal, these pro athletes or whatever. He didn't have his birth father in his life his whole life. He was raised by a stepdad, who was a sergeant in the military. I mean, and so a lot of times it's the kids that didn't have all the material stuff passed down to them that end up being successful, on the back end. I mean, most of the time, these pro athletes, these high end pro, you probably won't see one of Tom Brady's kids, being a Hall of Fame quarterback. It just doesn't happen that way. And so, it's not about all the material stuff that's passed down to him. Tom Brady had a great dad. Um, Michael Jordan had a father figure in his life. Obviously Peyton Manning, the Mannings did. I mean, so on and so forth. Tiger Woods, had a great father figure in his life. Tiger Woods, a better golfer than his father ever was, right?
Mhm.
But he had that man that was present that took him out when he was 3 and teach him how to swing a golf club. Um, and so, yeah, just being there and being present, man. That's the measure of success, man. And that will outlive you, and that will be the universe and eternity will measure that as far as the scoreboard, and you will come out as a winner.
Yeah, you want to have examples. You want to have some people to emulate. Look at Coach Prime. Look at Tiger Woods. Look at how they're passing down their skills to their kids. Look at how they're teaching them to
Mhm.
do what they did. I mean, and I guarantee you, some of the kids probably didn't even want, if Tiger had more kids, I bet you, the next kid would be like, I don't want to play golf. But they're passing down what they have. They're taking their skill set and they're passing it down. They're teaching the next generation. And so that's success. That's longevity. That's legacy. And that's true success and true value, I think, for most men that we can actually emulate and that we can actually achieve. So don't think it's all about your
Mhm.
pocketbook. Don't think it's all about your material possessions. It's about your impact on the world. And that usually starts with the younger generation. So we hope that you will follow us and like us, tell us how much you love us and hate us, and share this with your friends and family. And until next time, we are the Madmen of Masculinity, and we are out.
Out.